Let's talk about that programming. This guy's on his phone. And oh shit, maybe I should turn because it's a red light and there's people behind me. Yeah, you think so? Lordy, lordy. I was watching Archie Bunker show last night. And there was this scene where it reminded me of, well, it made me think of something. They're at the jail, and this guy they're so it's a really interesting episode because it shows you just how different things are today. So it's actually a 2-part episode. They were able to milk an entire hour's worth of TV out of the fact that Archie was missing. And it just shows you how different the cell phone age is. Because it's Archie's supposed to go to a lodge meeting or something because, again, back then, like, it's strange to watch and see just how different things were back then. How much better off everyone was. And you want to think, like, obviously now is the best time to be alive technology-wise. But the value of the dollar-wise is just ridiculous. Archie would go to these lodge meetings multiple times a year, these conventions and whatnot. And you just think, like, he would have to buy plane tickets, hotels, transportation, all that stuff, food. And they're not supposed to be wealthy people, they're supposed to it's really, when I first started driving, I could get pack of cigarettes, a pop, and like maybe $2 when I first started driving, at least. I don't remember what they were when I was a kid, first started smoking. Which is weird. I don't know why I don't remember that. But like, I could get $5 from my mom and I'd be good. And we're not talking about back in my day. This is the 90s and shit. This wasn't the penny candy days. But you just think about that, and you think about like watching stuff is so fascinating to me, especially watching these old shows. I don't even like the Archie Bunker show. I think it's a terrible show. Sanford and Son, terrible show. But it's this weird time capsule for me. And I watch it from like that perspective, like a study on why the adults of today are the way they are. And it's because they were influenced by that generation of television. And so Archie is supposed to go to this thing, but he never shows up. Come to find out, he must have, like, Carol O'Connor must have had something going on. I don't think it was contract negotiations. Like if you watch Sanford and Son, the whole last season of Sanford and Son is without Sanford. It's terrible. And it's really, really, like, as bad as Sanford and Son is, it's a lot worse without Fred. But Archie, he goes, what ends up happening is he was sitting next to a Mormon on the plane, and I guess they used to give out 2 free drinks to everyone, but because the Mormon didn't drink, he did collect the bottles. Archie had to drink his drinks for him. Got too drunk, went to the wrong place, this, that, and the other. Well, the Gloria and them, they don't know. And so they start going through his stuff. Like, he has a box of stuff. And it's I guess it's been maybe 24 hours. Actually, I don't think it's been 24 hours yet. Maybe it's only been like 18 hours or something. Because they go to the police station and, you know, like, I want to do a missing report. And the cop's like, well, we can't do anything till it's been 24 hours. Which is not true. I think this generation is more influenced by 90s and 2000s television. No, not the generation in charge. The generation in charge is influenced by the 70s and 60s. The string pullers. And granted, you know, I'm older than I think I am, but still. That generation is coming. I mean, we're here, you know, and there are people, you know, 90s and 2000s. I mean, that would be my age. And there are some people in my age. The vice president is my age. But the generation that's in charge right now, they were at their most influential, vulnerable point in the late 60s, early 70s, and then into the 80s. And the thing is, back then there used to be, like, they made a lot of, people watched a lot of reruns. People watched a lot of shows from earlier because, dude, when I was a kid, I didn't have cable. And when I was a kid, staying home from school because I was sick meant I watched Green Acres, I watched Bewitched, and Happy Days, because those were the only things that were on. It's really hard if you're younger, if you're like in your 30s or whatever, or younger. It's hard for you to even kind of comprehend what life was like prior to the cell phone. You know, prior to modern times. Like, there's this huge shift that takes place with the cell phone, with the computer. You know, before those things were available, it was very different. The Reagan era. Yeah, kind of. But so Archie's so they go through his stuff, and they find this picture of Boom Boom, some chick with huge tits that Archie, I guess, has a thing for, but everybody just assumes that Archie ran off on Edith and went out. Like, it's a really ridiculous episode. The whole premise is ridiculous. The whole, just everything is ridiculous. But at one point, they go to the cop shop. And I already said that, but so his friend Slim comes over from work. It's Slim, huh? He talks like this, huh? And he makes dumb jokes all the time, huh? And it's like, were there really people like that? I don't know anybody like that. You know, I've never met that guy before, but that guy is used in lots of different things. But at one point, they're at the cop shop, and a man in a trench coat is getting let out. And they're like, all right, well, we're going to let you out on a signature, this, that, and the other. And he's like, all right, well, if I just promise not to do it again. And they're like, all right, we'll let you go if you promise not to do it again. And so as he's walking through the line, and he flashes back it and then gets arrested. But I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking, like, why was that a huge thing back then? Like, you don't hear about that anymore. And is that because cameras are everywhere? Is that was flashing a big thing back in the day? You're right, the characters on there were overacted. They are in everything. But it's all about the manipulation. Archie Bunker influenced so many people. I was born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s. Yeah, me too. Being 46, about to be 47, Jesus. Like, it's definitely different. But, like, again, I'm only 46. There are people like me at the top, but old money, big money, that's always going to be the 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds. Those are the people that really pull the strings. And those people, they grew up in the 50s and the 60s and shit. It made it funny, but I don't like Archie Bunker show is just awful. It really is awful. The way he treats Edith, and it's not like he's panned. He becomes a caricature of the American male. Like it's hard for people to like it's really hard for us today to realize just how influential shit like that was. Like Fonzie, man. Fonzie was so influential as far as cultural goes. And it's embarrassing to think that way. You have the Jew playing the Italian stereotype, but there's so much of it, like, so forever what it meant to be a man was that you were just an asshole. That's what it meant to be a real man. You were an asshole. You were a fucking womanizer. A lot of things that we were told to believe and be aren't things that make you happy. That's why so many people are miserable. You can sleep with all the chicks in the world. It's not going to make you happy. And it's interesting to look back on it and just see how it was pushed on us so much. And shows like All in the Family are said to be these cultural phenomenons that were, that dealt with racism and dealt with this, that, and the other, and it's not that way. Like it's really just it permeates those things. It popularizes those things. It makes those horrible stereotypes, it shines a light on them in a positive way. Archie's not seen as the bad guy. Archie's the star of the show. And he's a piece of shit. He's an insecure white guy, piece of shit. He's about as stereotypical piece of shit white guy as it gets, but it's not, pushed that way. He's pushed as he's a good guy deep down, and, he's just a piece of shit bigot. What show representation in the 50s did you ever see? That movie, American Graffiti? No, I should have. I'm surprised I haven't, but I've never watched it. And it's weird how, I can't talk about American Graffiti. I never watched it. I know sort of what it's about, but I just look at all these old shows and Father Knows Best, and even the Beaver show, the Leave It to Beaver. Like it's such an interesting way. Like it's basically TV. Even Edith, to a point, makes the wife like another child. she's like the oldest child in the house, and she's, she bends to the husband's will, and she's, she might get the better zingers, but she puts up with a lot of shit. Even the honeymooners. You watch the honeymooners, and it's fucking terrible, man. It's really weird, but it's like, he'll do some Ralph Cramden. I can't imagine why his friend likes him, and he works at Suez, and there's so much, I don't know, there's so much that's given away, old world shit given away by these old things. I love watching the old Bugs Bunny cartoons because, again, if you pay attention to the backgrounds, especially anytime they're in like a city, these cartoons are from the 30s and 40s and shit. And if you look in the backgrounds, they're depicting a monumental city, a metropolis with huge skyscrapers. And there's this one cartoon where Bugs Bunny, she's the daughter of Rosie O'Grady, a regular old-fashioned Goyle. Bugs Bunny's singing that song. We've all seen that one. And then the bulldog decides he's going to fuck with Bugs and blah, blah, blah. So there's this one scene where Bugs goes into this building and the dog's chasing him. And he goes all the way up to the top floor, and the top floor is like the eatery or the cafeteria or whatever. And Bugs is standing in this room where it's all like shoeboxes with glass lids on the front, right? And you open the lid and there's food inside, but it's the whole thing is just, it's tons of little windows everywhere you look. And Bugs says, hey Mac, you got a dime? And the guy gives him a dime, and he puts it in, and he opens up the thing, and he gets a slice of pie. He says, oh wait, you wanted cherry pie, and oh, you wanted, but whatever. But to think, we're talking about the 40s. What was it like in the 40s where they could have an entire wall of, I'm assuming refrigerated, had to be refrigerated, little windows with all this food in it, pie, who made all the food? How did the food get into that thing, and all the different sandwiches, and how did it get stocked full every day? How was it kept fresh? It's one of these little windows into the past that it just, I don't know, it just seems like it's telling us, that the Tartaria stuff is so fascinating to me. And it's so obvious. And watch My Lunch Break. I might not agree with everything My Lunch Break says, but he makes some fantastic fucking videos. Lucius Aurelian as well, but My Lunch Break is really doing a phenomenal job. I've been asking him lately, been commenting, why haven't you done the Pentagon yet? If you didn't watch my videos on the Pentagon, that's literally what told to us, and it's not Ms. Riz. Her license plate says Ms. Riz. She's got that Riz. I'm sorry, that was just distracting. But the Tartaria stuff is so obvious. I don't know how anybody ever thinks anything otherwise. It's they're clearly lying to us about the world we live in, and things could easily be very much better. Could be a lot better for everyone else. they just don't want it to be. It's actually pretty fucking shocking. But you know, you see it so much in old cartoons. Because the old cartoons are trying to, like, the cartoons are the exaggerated, the characters are the exaggerated thing. So they try to put the exaggerated characters in the more realistic settings. And then the depictions of skyscrapers and you know, metropolitan cities is just, it's everywhere. But I don't even know where to go with it. Like, to me, it's like you just take your pick. But I really do think that the Pentagon is underlooked. It's not looked at, actually. You can't. I haven't seen a video on the Pentagon in any sort of capacity. Like, I haven't seen anybody Tartaria-wise make a Pentagon video. It's so hard to, for me, the truther thing is so hard to deal with because of the religious association that for some reason people can't let go of. You know, you hear about this satanic bullshit all the time, and I just get so tired of you know, it's such an obvious weapon used against us, and it's such a dumb story, and such a dumb narrative, and I just it like pollutes everything. Like, how can I get away from this satanic pollution? Because it's like anytime I'm watching somebody and I'm like, oh wow, this is a good video, yeah, blah blah blah, and then they're like, and they're satanic, and it's like, oh fuck, he just lost a whole bunch of credit as far as I'm concerned. Care about your stupid satanic nonsense. It's so dumb. It's just so dumb. Why would anyone believe in that shit? I mean, I get, like, if you're not capable of taking responsibility for your own shit, being accountable for your own fuckery, then I guess I can see it. But it's so stupid, and it's so contradictory, and it's... How can you like still dig your God when it's that, you know, it allows Satan to exist? Why would God allow Satan to exist? Well, it's a test. Like, it's so stupid. Why would I be like, okay, I know this guy's a pedo, but I guess he can live here? Like, no, you can't live in my house. And, you know, I'm not going to test my children to see if they fall for your bullshit. I'm not going to put them in that position. As the Almighty Father. Hello! Oh, man. She's the daughter of Rosie O'Grady, a regular old-fashioned Goyle. She doesn't care about diamond rings. What?
On top of the baker's rack is filled with teas.
Booties? The hell do I care about all different kinds of teas? I only want one. Oh my goodness! Look at you, fat girl. Look at you. Where did these come from?
I bought them yesterday. I got the wrong English breakfast. Just open the cup and dump it in the thing.
What is this Lady Grey bullshit?
You've had that. You like Lady Grey.
I don't want no lemon tea.
You've had Lady Grey.
I have not.
Yes, you
Maybe I have, but that was a different person. I was different in those days.
That's the British black bread.
I know, but I don't like it's citrusy. I don't want citrusy.
And English breakfast.
Yeah, well, I'm with Irish breakfast right now. If that's all right with you.
Whatever your fancy is.
It's right. I'm very fancy, thank you. I'm quite the dandy, if I may say so myself. Me and Lindsey Graham. Good old dandy Lindsey Graham. Hey y'all. Hey y'all, I'm Lindsey Graham. Hey y'all. I'm gonna need y'all to vote for Trump. I'm gonna need y'all to give me some money, okay? I need some money. I need y'all to donate to me, because, you know, I'm Lindsey Graham. I can't breathe enough to scream. I can't breathe! I can't breathe!
His name is Josh Johnson.
Yeah. What's up? I can't breathe! She's the daughter of Rosie O'Grady. I really need to go. I don't know why I'm doing this. I got a video film. You know, are you guys, like, seriously, who still supports Trump? Come on. Raise your pedo hands. Let's see. Are you seriously watching everything this man is doing? And you're like, he's great. And then Obama goes up the stairs. And I wish I could go up the stairs like Obama goes up the stairs. But I can't go up the stairs like Obama goes up the stairs. I have to be more careful when I go up the stairs. But Joe Biden, he couldn't go up the stairs. He fall down on stairs. Ha! He's such a piece of shit. Oh, yep, schizo. Here we go. We have our talking points. Our Jewish talking points. I can't believe how stupid they are. Man, it is crazy. It really is crazy to see just how fucking stupid they are. Playing 5D chess, yeah. He sounds insane. Like he's literally... This stuff that's just been coming out with him is just... How? Like, how is he this stupid? You know, I mean, I guess to me, it's really no different than anything he's ever done before. I don't ever remember Trump saying something really powerful that will be quoted forever, and you know, I can't think of anything where it's like, man, he's really, really good. Maybe the 5D chess thing, I guess, but that's not even a his quote. That's something that's been said for a while by other people. But it's like, it's just like shocking and backwards, and you just look at it like, dude, what are you fucking doing? You know? It's embarrassing, but it's I always wonder, like, I mean, this is George Bush Jr. This is Ronald Reagan. You know, Ronald in the beginning was a lot better than the Ronald after he got shot. But, like, has it always been like this? You know, I was watching Hakeem Jeffries on MSNBC, Lawrence, whatever his name is. If you can't tell which team he's on by now, I don't care what to tell you. Right, he's obviously Israel's bitch. But he's no different. Like, so Hakeem Jeffries is being asked questions, and he's doing his and he's speaking in the cadence, and he's not actually answering the question, or he's politicking as he's answering the question, and each answer is like a minute and a half longer than it needs to be, and it's just so fucking strange how these characters can appeal to us. Why are we so just fucking stupid? I don't get it. I really, I mean, we're made to be this stupid, obviously, and they want us to be this stupid, but why are we so willingly stupid? Maybe he's just tarded. That movie's so fucking funny. I don't know. It's okay, dude. My sister's tarded and she's like a doctor. Or whatever the fucking, I don't know what he says. But he steals that movie. That's a Steen stealing a movie stealing performance there. Shit was funny. I like money. And the reality is, again, what's a better distraction than an absolute buffoon that you can't make sense of? Like, there's no making sense of why he is where he is, how, it just doesn't make any sense if the narrative we're given is real, and, government is this and it takes that and yada yada yada, all that bullshit. It's just it's crazy. It's crazy, but it works. The last time we were in, we had some dumbass at the helm, right? We had Bush at the helm. That's what they do. They give us something that is just such a fantastic distraction for us to focus on. So we're not looking where they don't want, or, we're not looking at what they want us looking at. We're as we should be. We're as they want us to be. We don't challenge the system at all. They're committing a fucking genocide right now. And it's getting worse by the day. The Israelis are attacking a flotilla full of citizens, not breaking any laws, trying to bring humanitarian aid into a place that is been destroyed by war crimes. And their ships are being attacked by Israel. They have videos of it. They have videos of them pleading with the president. Please, we are American citizens. Send us help. This, that, and the other. And we're like, did you see what Donald Trump said? He's stupid again. He did it again. He's stupid again. And it just works like gangbusters, man. It's how they operate. So strange. It's just so strange. If you enter into a war zone, expect to be bombarded, especially they're not entering into a war zone, you dumbass. They're entering international waters. They're not violating any ordinances or anything. They're bringing aid to a war-torn area. But that's not how that, that doesn't work. They're not violating any sort of anything. And actually, the attacks against them violate all sorts of international law. And that's really all Israel ever does is violate the law. But this is what, again, this is what Israel supporters, this is what Jews, this is what Israelis in general, this is the kind of shit they do. This is the kind of stuff they say because, they're hoping you don't have a response. And as soon as you have the response, they're going to shut down. It's just how that works. But these are stupid ass, there's no, they're properly identified, their intentions are clear, they followed every rule possible. There's no justification for it. There's explanation, but there's no justification. Explanation is they're psychopaths. They're insane blood. Shit. I'm trying, bruv. Brother! Nice one, brother. Said. Nice one, brother. Nice one. Oh, I missed my Irish breakfast. And I don't mean whiskey. Because, Irish people are drunks. That's how we're supposed to think, right? The Irish holiday is the get drunk holiday. Because that's not the ultimate in insults. They don't even get a shortened month. They get one piece of shit day that's all about drinking. Those potatoes are just feeding the rats, right? Chubby. What? Those potatoes are just feeding the rats, right? They do. 5 views, 5 likes. Totally makes sense. Because I'm feeling some type of way. How did that become a thing? Some type of way. Do you feel some type of way? I feel some type of way. Oh, go! Oh, is it going, man? Oh, is it going? That's what I was looking for. I just happened to grab this too. Isn't it crazy how all these years later, tried to beg you, tried to get you guys to understand it was Israel. And now you finally understand it's been Israel the whole time. It's Judaism. That's all it ever has been. It's not even Israel. Israel is just a concoction. Israel's just a distraction. Israel's just the thing we're allowed to talk about. Same thing it always is, man. We have to overthrow this shit. We have to, I want to know what thing is holding you back. As the viewer, what thing that's talked about are you struggling with and struggling to I don't mean it in a mean way, but wrap your head around. What part don't you guys get? You Christians in your God worship, don't you understand? Don't you understand what that is? You know, you're supposed to be going into your house and waiting for Jesus to come fix things. What a convenient way to keep people fucking stupid. I see it so much, and it's so goddamn frustrating. And it makes sense. Every time I see a video and the video has 100,000 views and this, that, and the other, and it's supposed to be telling some secrets, it's allowed to. If you have 100,000 views, you're allowed to have 100,000 views. They'll never let me have that kind of platform. Because I'm dangerous. I tell people to think. Think, don't just believe, think. Have you ever heard anybody ask the question to Christians, why are you Christian and not Muslim? Seems like it's a really basic question, but I never heard anybody ask that before. Man, I can't wait for the new stuff. Jesus Christ. Hate this weed. Sorry for all of those whom this is loud for. It's short-lived. Don't worry. Oh yeah, cleaned it out yesterday. Yeah. Oh boy. Oh, Jesus Christ. Must be God. Must be God trying to stop me. You know, it's just crazy. We need to move past this. We need to start truly addressing what the issues are and not holding back, worried about people's feelings. Your feelings can't be hurt if what I'm saying isn't true. How are your feelings going to be hurt by somebody running up to you and being like, you're 38 feet tall, ha 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 ha. Would you get upset about that? You know? If you're in really good shape and somebody walks up to you and it's like, what's up, fat boy? Are you going to get upset? No, you're going to be like, yeah, okay, dude. Like, you just laugh at them. But if you're fat and somebody says, what up, fat boy? Even if see, this is the crazy part. If you're fat and somebody expresses that they care, hey, you look like you have impulse control issues and I really want to help you get over that shit so you can live a long, healthy, happy life. They're not even going to be able to get that whole thing out before you're already, hey, you can't stop that shaming me. The masses are too naive about how deep it goes, too outlandish for them to take seriously. And at the same time, they believe that God got a virgin pregnant and, you know, people were living hundreds of years and they begat children and the Jewish fairy tale Bible this, Jewish fairy tale Bible that. You can't, if you believe this, the Exodus narrative, which is sort of the quintessential narrative to all of the Bible, really. Like, you can't have Christianity, Islam, Judaism. You can't have these things without there being Exodus. And Exodus is not possible. It's as dumb as it gets. And so for everybody to act like, I mean, the crazy part is like the main real conspiracy isn't even that outlandish. It's not even that crazy. They tell you it's that crazy, and it's like the Iron Dome, right? If you believe Israel has the Iron Dome and that any sort of ordnance shot into Israeli airspace is just going to be shot down anyway, well, why would you ever shoot anything? Like, you believe the Iron Dome is 100% effective, 99% effective? Why waste your ordnance, right? It's the same thing. It's all about controlling people's belief. What is your worldview as far as theology or creation goes? I don't know. I think we're in a TV show. I think we're in a reality-based TV show. And to me, unlike everything else, that theory explains everything else. It doesn't just exclude things because they don't fit the narrative. It explains the narrative. It explains each of those things, especially the reset idea. That at some point the us on the ground become unwatchable because we overcome conflict. And when we overcome conflict, we end up building magnificent fucking buildings and cities that were told that were built in the 1800s that weren't. But we build forever buildings. We build star forts. We build all these things because we're working together. There's no conflict. And since conflict is the backbone of entertainment, once we get to that point, it gets boring and they have to reset things. It's very interesting because it answers questions, right? The reset thing doesn't require you to have faith in a bunch of stupidity. The reset thing answers questions. There's not a person on here. I don't care what you guys say. There's not a person on here that would take a bullet in the head to stand up for the belief that the Pentagon, the second largest building in the world, office building in the world, was built from 1941 to 1943 over 2 winters in 14 months. 15 months if you include the planning for it, because, you know, the basic design was done in 5 days. The site was picked for the Pentagon on September 2nd. And the contracts were finalized, as well as the ground being broken on September 11th. Like, the fact that 9/11 was the 60th, not the 61st, not the 59th, the 60th anniversary of 9/11, and of the 9/11 was the 60th anniversary of the construction project on the Pentagon beginning. Nobody puts that together. None of you believe this. None of you will believe that the Pentagon could be built in 14 months. It took 13 years to renovate the Pentagon from like 97 to 2011 or some shit. 13 fucking years for them to renovate it. It took 14 months to build it. It's 5 stories above ground and at least 2 levels below ground. It has a basement and a sub-basement. And they built all of that in 14 months in 1941. Nobody believes that shit. Right? None of you. I don't care how much you don't like me and how much you like to rape kids and all that shit. You're not dumb enough to believe that the Pentagon could be built in 14 months by a company that was specifically, that not an old company that had been around building things for years, by a company that was specifically put together to build the Pentagon and didn't even last throughout the whole process. The head designer, the head guy, was arrested for in misconduct charges. They won't go into it any further, but misconduct. So you're curious, what am I saying happened then? I'm not saying anything. Like, I can't tell you, I'm not arrogant enough to sit here and tell you that this is how it is. This is for sure what happened. This, that, and the other than the reset. There sure does seem to be a hell of a lot of evidence for the reset. And anybody that denies it is just somebody that hasn't looked. It's that simple. You can't have looked into it and still believe the narrative you're told. Shit doesn't work that way. Right? It's, you know, when you look at all the oldest footage that exists of cities, the oldest pictures that exist of cities, you'll see these huge sprawling metropolises, and there'll be no people in them. The oldest pictures. The buildings are all there, but there's no people. You know, there's clearly something else going on. I mean, about the Pentagon, it's an old world building. It's clearly an old world building. It's clearly an old world something. You know, it's just that simple. There is nothing like that anywhere else. But you know, there's nobody that's going to be around. Nobody around today that can be like, no, I was there. I saw the Pentagon construction. You can't even look it up because you'd think something as massive as the Pentagon would have a lot of pictures of the build. There's no construction photos. Nothing that's actually worth looking at. It's 1941, September. You know, and just, if I'm wrong, where are all the detractors in the comment section? Like, the idea that anybody would happen to be a Pentagon expert and they're here, like, it's just stupid to begin with, but it's weird, man. It's weird. It's like, who is going to have any sort of attachment to it? Who's going to be like, no, dude, you're wrong, man. My grandfather built the Pentagon. It's amazing how people love to argue like they have some sort of stake in things. And then at the same time, when it comes to stuff that they do, religious stuff or whatever, they have nothing to say. I highly suggest everybody go look up the Pentagon and prove me wrong. Go find the story that proves me wrong. But I think it really does come down to a mindset. You know, you're either someone who is questioning things or you're not, right? You know, and then there's the levels of that. Like, it to me, it's always so interesting, and I always want to know, but nobody ever seems to be able to answer. At what point do truthers especially stop being a truther? I mean, it's really fucking crazy. At what point do you go, you know, I ask all the questions, like everybody seems to do it when it comes to the religious shit. And I keep asking these people, you know, whether it's Coop, whether it's my lunch break, whether it's Lucius Aurelian, why don't you do a deep dive on Christianity? Why don't you have that same mentality that you have questioning everything else with this clear control scheme that's used against us? It's like it's embarrassing. Every time I watch a Coop video and he talks about, and I just want God and his son to keep the victims close to their heart and blah, blah. Like, what are you talking, dude? Come on. I've been manipulated for the last 3 years daily. Ask me if you like. What? Wake and bacon conspiracy theories. Why do you think they're called conspiracy theories? Do you realize the definition of conspiracy is two or more people working together to affect the outcome of a situation? So everything is a conspiracy. It's just which conspiracies you subscribe to. And it's strange how people have such a hard time, you know, they'll call themselves Christian, or they'll say they believe this or they believe that. And then you go, oh, really? Okay, well, why don't you elaborate on why? And as soon as you start asking them more questions, they're like, oh, what are you asking me questions for? What do you mean? You know, we live in a really fucked up, because it's a theory about a conspiracy. I guess. But where do you draw the line? Like, what do you consider fact as opposed to theory? Do you know that the reason why you think we get sick is still considered a theory? The germ theory? And you believe it. I'm sure you believe it. You don't even think about what you believe, but you believe it. You believe that there are invisible beings, life forms, intelligent life forms that exist in our bodies on a microscopic level, and then expelled from our bodies, and then they float around or they do whatever until another body comes around, and then they go inside that body and make that person sick. You believe it. You've never even given it much thought, but you believe it. And you have in your life, I'm sure, questioned, hey, how come I can sleep in a bed with somebody who's sick all night long, breathing, coughing, sneezing, all in my shit, and I don't get sick from it? My immune system. If I say point to your immune system, are you going to be able to point to anything? You know, the theory of the you know, Big Bang Theory. It's all just dumb shit. But it's like, you know, they require you to be a certain level of stupid in order for it all to work. And so that you end up defending the stupid. You end up attacking those who ask questions. And it's this self-policing mechanism. Non-invisible microscopic assay. I can point out immune system organs and parts, LOL, but doesn't matter. I bet you can't. And it really, it's and they are invisible. They are invisible. You can't see them. The only time you can see them is when you're told that you can see them. And let's just say you have a microscope. You don't know what you're looking at in the microscope. You have to be told what you're looking at. Ooh, that one right there, that's a sick germ. So let's do it real quick, right? So what you and what everybody that's watching believes is that one day Billy Bob Johnson is walking down the street when suddenly COVID, flu, sickness, whatever it is, manifests inside of him. And he becomes patient zero. And as he walks around, he exudes, he expels COVID sauce everywhere he goes. Right? If he coughs or he sneezes or whatever, COVID sauce flies out. Now, there's multiple kinds of COVID sauce. The first kind is the airborne COVID sauce. You know, he coughs out, he sneezes, it's you. There's a cloud that comes out. And that cloud is kind of greenish with little red specks in it, but it's also invisible. But you believe that in an enclosed area where there's no ventilation, the cloud just sits there waiting for somebody else to ho-hum, doodly-dum, doop-doo-doo, just walk through it. And when they walk through it, the COVID sauce germs, they detect it, they know it, and they run up inside your nose and in your mouth, and they get you sick, and you get COVID, and now you become a new pusher. If you're in a room with ventilation, it can go as far as 60 feet. So as you're eating in the restaurant, somebody can sneeze over there. And when you pull your mask down to take a bite, that COVID sauce can fly in your mouth, fly up your nose, and get you sick. The other way you believe it exists is somebody coughs. Now, if somebody coughs or sneezes here, everything's okay, right? Everyone's safe. There's no pandemic. There's nothing. No testing. No lockdown. Nothing. If everybody just sneezed here, we'd all be safe. But if you sneeze here, whoa boy, you can call it whatever you want. COVID, flu, whatever sickness you want to call it. If you cough or sneeze here, now your hand is covered in invisible COVID sauce. Invisible, intelligent, self-replicating COVID sauce. Because coughing and colds and shit, they don't happen in the summertime. They happen when it gets cold. It starts to get cold. So the COVID sauce that's in your body, in your 98.6 degree body, is then expelled onto your hand, self-replicating, super sticky, whatever it is. Now, as you walk along, if you touch the wall, ouch, or you touch the door handle, or you use a pen, or whatever it is, the COVID sauce goes from your hand to whatever it is and starts self-replicating into like a little colony. A little fort, a little star fort. And let's say it's 50 degrees out, because, that's usually when cold season starts, is when it starts getting cold. It goes from the 98.6 degrees to the 50 degree countertop. And it just waits. And it waits for somebody else to come drag their hand along that same spot, touch that same door handle, touch that same pen. And now the COVID sauce is on their hand, and it starts self-replicating. Blah, 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 blah. Now, if you go wash your hand, well, then it goes down the drain. But if you touch your ear, pick your nose like everyone does when they think no one's looking, rub your chin, whatever it is, the COVID sauce knows. And it goes from your hand to your face, and then it runs up your nose and in your mouth, and it gets you sick. Of course, if you have a strong immune system, that's basically some real strong white guys that are sitting at the doorway. And when the germs come in, those white guys are like, and chop them to shit and kill them, if they're strong enough. Which you can also give them steroids through a vaccine if you'd like. And you all believe this. You all believe in this intelligent, self-replicating, can survive multiple from your wet, warm inside your body to the dry, cold countertop. Self-replicating, just getting people sick. It knows what it's doing. It would have to be a very deliberate, intelligent being, creature, to do all of that. And yet that's what you all believe. Right? You all believe that shit like it's real. You know that if COVID was even close to real, the hardest hit would have been the medical community? Because there's always that time before everybody knows to panic and start wearing Jiffy Pop bags on their heads and shit. Where they would have been exposed unprotected to the COVID, and nurses and doctors and orderlies and all sorts of people in the hospitals would have been just decimated. What a dumbass. Every single year, I'll get all different types of sicknesses from childhood until I was 24. Once I turned 24, changed my diet. I haven't been sick since, and I'm 35 now. Right. I almost never get sick. But we don't look at sickness the way that, we look at it like it's these germs, these Germans. The concept of germs, so in the 1880s, sickness went from miasma, which translates to bad air, to the germ theory. Right as they were like, hey, we need to start injecting people with shit, they also created the Germans, the bad guys, the germs. Don't you think it's weird? Especially when you consider that Germany, why do we even call it Germany? It's Deutschland. They're the Deutsch. They speak Deutsch. They don't call themselves Germans, they call themselves Deutsch. So why do we call them Germans? It just so happens that the Germans have always been sort of World War I, World War II, it was the Germans that were the bad guys. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. But people started believing that there was this outside force that could get you sick. The germs. And like if you look back on any time there's like an outbreak of something, or there's a spike in something, or there's the largest number of cases or whatever, it's all associated with vaccines. When it comes to hepatitis, the largest outbreaks of hepatitis all coincide with vaccines in some way. Either it was a bad ingredient, or it was a bad, needles were used, or whatever. But it's always something to do with vaccines. They come up with a new thing, and then 4 or 5 years later, people start getting all kinds of crazy shit. And then they have to come up with another new thing, and then 4 or 5, it's just how it works. But it's really interesting how, we've all been programmed to just accept this narrative of these outside invaders always trying to attack us. We're always under attack. They love to have us focused on invisible shit. Whether it's invisible God and Jesus, invisible germs, invisible rocks that fall out of the sky, invisible pole shift, invisible ice ages, invisible supervolcanoes laying dormant underneath Yellowstone. It's a supervolcano, and if it blows up, everybody's dead. It's not the government that we can see. No. It's the invisible deep state. It's the deep state. Does anybody think Trump answers to the deep state? Why did Trump tell us about the deep state if he answers to the deep state? But that's what they do. They have you focused on the invisible. It's not what you can see. No, no, no. It's not the thing that's obvious right in front of you. No, no, no. It's the invisible thing. It's the invisible bad guy. It's the devil. The devil did it. Do I not believe in germ theory? No, I don't. I don't believe it at all. I think it's stupid. And I think they get a lot of mileage out of it. It's all about controlling how you think. If they control how you think, then what you think doesn't matter. They can manipulate that all they want. Once you accept the idea of germs, well, then you're going to accept the idea of medicines and vaccines and super viruses and just all the bullshit that comes with it. If you accept the earth is round, well, then you accept dinosaurs, you accept rocks falling from space, you accept all the NASA shit that steals all your money. Not to mention all of them, they leave you with another little piece of fear. Like the title of the video is fear. It's all about stoking fear. Like, it's really fucked up when you think about it, right? And the crazy part is we do it to kids. Think about what we do to kids. Here's some toys, play with these. Oh, look at these monsters, these big giant monster dinosaurs. Look how cool they are. Oh yeah, they're so much bigger and tougher than humans ever were, buddy. Yeah, you're right. Rawr, look at the big scary monsters. Oh yeah, they're not here anymore because a rock fell out of the sky and killed everything. But don't worry, that can't happen. It can happen to us too, but it's not going to happen for a really long time, okay? Think about how fucked up that is for kids to reconcile. Just like the concept of hell. You tell your kid that there's this list of rules that's impossible to follow, and you see mommy and daddy not following those rules, and you know that you already haven't followed those rules. You're going to go to hell for all of eternity when you die. Imagine how fucked up. Like, we've all forgotten what it's like to be kids and come to terms with those things because we're so little. But all of you believe that at any point we are all just moments away from death. That's some fucked up psychology there. That at any moment you believe a rock could fall out of the sky and kill everybody. It's such commonplace. You have Stockholm syndrome when it comes to it, because when it comes to somebody that's saying, hey, that's not real, you're the one that's going to defend it more than anyone else. No, it is true. A rock is going to fall out of the sky and wipe out everybody. That makes sense. You know what makes no sense? Comets. Comets make no sense. You have to think, the reality is, to me, none of it makes sense. Like, something's such a simple experiment, but if you have a ball that's this big, weighs this much, right? And then you have a ball that is much, much bigger, hundreds of times the size of that ball and much heavier. In order to keep those things, like if you had strings attached to those things and they were revolving around something, when they revolve around it, there's if not for the string, they would go flying off. And you're going to need a much stronger string for the big ball than you will for the smaller ball. So if you're saying, well, there's no strings, the string is gravity. Meaning the sun is exuding so much gravity on Jupiter that is, even though this thing is revolving around the sun at thousands of miles per hour, it's able to hold it in that orbit. The thing is, if the sun is exuding that much gravity on Jupiter to hold that large planet in orbit, keeping it from flying out into space, anything in between the sun and Jupiter would get sucked in. Right? It would get sucked into the sun because you would need such a stronger amount of suction to hold Jupiter in place than you would Earth, Mars, Venus, all that shit. Mercury, the fucking the asteroid belt, all that shit. It would all get sucked in because the amount of string on Jupiter is much stronger than all those smaller things. But that doesn't, we don't want to talk about that, right? I've never even heard anybody bring this one up. This was one that sort of dawned on me one day. But make it make sense, right? I know you can't. I know a lot of you are feeling overwhelmed right now and totally outsmarted, so you're going to start talking about dumb shit, and I expect that. But anybody that believes the earth is round, flying through space and all that other bullshit, I mean, if you believe one part, you have to believe it all. And see, that's the other thing that I find so shocking. Like, if you say you believe the earth is round, well, then you better believe Oswald shot Kennedy. You're not that type of arrogant jackass that, picks and chooses which things you believe. If the government says so, you believe it, right? The system says that the earth is round. You have no proof. There's nothing in your own personal experience to validate that. So you're only basing it off of what you're told. And so you believe what you're told when it comes to the earth shape. You better believe everything else they tell you, right? You better believe the Oswald narrative, the 9/11 narrative. You better have all your COVID shots. The government that you believe without proof told you to do it, so you better do it. Who are you to sit here and say that you can pick and choose? How do you know better? How do you know which things the government is lying about? Yeah, I get it. You've lost, and instead of maintaining the discussion, or at least being big enough to admit that you've lost, you're hiding. I get it. That's what I would do. Well, if I was like dumb, right? It's all conditioning and programming to control your perception. Exactly. But there's still that same, so there's so many people out there that are questioning the earth shape, right? Obviously the system has been lying to you. And you're someone that goes, no. System, I'm not believing that shit. You guys have been lying, I'm gonna call you out on it. And that's great. But then at the same time, people will say, but Jesus is the answer. Jesus is the way. And they just, where do you draw that line? It's strange because I've never actually had somebody that was intelligent enough to answer this question. I've never had somebody that is a truther that also believes in Jesus that can tell me how that works. Your buddy says he can see Earth's curvature from a plane. Sure you can. The windows are curved. It's designed that way. My buddy, he he sends me this picture once, and it's him in a plane on the ground, and he took a picture of how the lines on the ground were distorted by the window at the very tip, and they looked like they had a slight curve to them. And he was like, holy shit, here I am thinking, you know, you're crazy, and I'm sitting on this plane and I noticed this window shape thing. And that's how this goes. People figure it out as they, you know, as the situation presents itself, I guess. It's fascinating. Strange, man. Just like the Vice video when they sent a joint to upper atmosphere. I don't know. Well, yeah, anytime you see anything like that, they use those goofy-ass GoPro lenses. You know what's a great video is that Red Bull video where the guy does that super parachute jump. Go look at the video, and it's supposed to show like him standing on the edge of the atmosphere and the earth is curved below him and all this other shit. But if you look at the earth, it's all land. Where the fuck are the giant oceans that cover 70% of the earth? The land is only like 22% of it or some shit. It's so goofy. What is he jumping from? I've seen it. Well, from a thing. He's jumping from a thing. And that thing has to be traveling at least 17,000 something miles per hour to be able to achieve the floating, you know, where he's standing there and we don't have shit that just floats. You know, we don't have anti-gravity technology, so to speak. But it's such a joke. It's such a joke. I still can't believe there haven't been more debunks of the Trump shooting video or the Trump shooting. Look at that. We just dropped from 6 people to 1 person. 1 watcher, 9 likes. Totally makes sense. Especially since there's at least 3 people commenting. Now I have 0 people watching me. How do I have 0 people watching me and people are still commenting? Isn't that strange? I even just got a like. And since you've never seen this before on anybody else's shit, why doesn't that tell you something? Just because you don't know it or can't explain it like exact doesn't mean like it's not real. This is what censorship looks like. Right? Censorship isn't hundreds of views. Censorship is somebody who a month ago was getting, 10,000 views and is now dropped down to supposedly 2 viewers and 10 likes. Make it make sense. Some other way. Make it make sense some other way. There are lots of people who do lots of truther shit. You can make all the Epstein videos you want. You want the attention nowadays? It's so funny that so many of the things that I've been talking about for years that were supposedly the things that held me back are now things that people are talking about, and they're allowed to have really big feeds and 7 people commenting, right? Two viewers. I told you guys about Team Jorge and Act.il, long before I actually had the proof of it. The proof exists now. Anybody can find it. The links are in the description. You show me another video where it's 3 people watching, 11 likes, 7, 8 people commenting. Show me the other person doing this. And ask yourself, what is the difference? Alex Jones will tell you every day to believe in God. Christianity. This dude's a multimillionaire. He's allowed to live an amazing life. Being a truther. Anomaly, another guy allowed to have millions of following. But he's telling the truth, right? He's telling secrets. It's all part of it. You have to see it for what it is. There's only one way this makes sense. One viewer. There's only one way this makes any sort of sense. My feed is considerably and noticeably different, has been different since either the day of the Charlie Kirk shooting or the day after it or whatever. Right then. Actually, it was happening a couple days beforehand because I was noticing something didn't seem right. But since the Charlie Kirk shooting, I've been allowed to have over 1,000 views like 3 times. One viewer. No, I have 4 now. And tell me the other person that you know that this happens to. So let me go watch them and see if they're doing similar things. I don't know anybody else that's openly saying, like, stop falling for the Zionism thing. And if somebody is, they're still telling you to believe in Jesus, or they're still telling you one thing or another. And as long as they're still pushing one narrative or another, like, they're allowed to exist. But it really does come down to, like, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to acknowledge it and see it for what it is? What do you think is happening? Oh, you're done talking about Pokemon? Operation Kirk. It's just an operation. I've said it from the beginning. What the fuck was in his shirt? It's starting to come out that it's this lavalier or lavalier or whatever. It's a mic. That's a gun. Israel Tech. They were able to infiltrate all the beepers. They have tech, and they have, like, you're just stupid and arrogant again if you think we, average goyim, know the capabilities of the system. They have all sorts of tech and shit that we're just unaware of. And the Kirk narrative has been broken down. The Kirk narrative shows you why they can't do a JFK today. They could do it back then. They can't do that shit nowadays. Let me ask you guys. Where are all of the cell phone videos and live feeds from the Trump shooting? According to Trump, there were tens of thousands of people there. If you watch the main video of the Trump shooting, you see the woman directly to his left in the first row holding a big white fucking iPhone. You can see the 3 camera lenses on it. Like, it's a big phone. Where's her video? This is 2024, man. People walked around with 2 cell phones all the time. This was the Trump Republican National Convention, this, that, whatever it was, blah, blah, bullshit. There would have been countless people there live filming it. Either filming it live or making videos of it with their cell phone. If you literally look at anything, any sort of venue, any sort of anything where there's a crowd anymore, it's a sea of cell phones. People will literally be like, yay, looking at their cell phone and not fucking experiencing the thing they're in. Whether you're a MAGA fan or you're a good person, like, you should be asking the same questions. Where the fuck are all the videos? Makes no sense. We should be able to, we should have. So my wife, I say this all the time, but my wife watches those stupid ass NCIS and Criminal Minds and all that shit. And on the Ion network. And they love showing these shows that are from, you know, the late 2000s, early teens, you know, the late aughts, early teens. And one of the thing, I remember watching the episode where there was a shooting, and it was in Southern California at, like, I don't know, at the pier or some shit. And they were saying that with social media being what it was at the time, and this is, again, late 2000s, early, you know, teens maybe. I don't remember when this episode was filmed. But they said that they can, because so many people are on social media either posting pictures or posting videos, that at any given time in an event where there's a lot of people, they can basically reconstruct a timeline in a 3D image of whatever situation it is, because it's happening in the background of so many different people's videos and shit. And they could do that back 15, 20 years ago. Maybe not 20, but 10, 15 years ago. You're saying in 2024, all the people that have multiple cell phones, I still haven't seen any cell phone videos of that shit happening. I've only seen the official videos. It makes no sense. Other than, I hate saying it makes no sense. Everything makes sense. You keep assuming what I think. I'm not buying a fat narrative. And then I ask what you think about it all. Okay. You're repeating yourself. You think I'm talking to you. Okay. This is something we should all be demanding. Like, where the fuck what happened there? How do you have, even the Charlie Kirk thing, nobody had cell phones out? What sort of youth gathering was that whole event if there's nobody standing there with cell phones? This is on a college campus. It's mostly students and shit. And none of them had their phones out? The crowd must have been in on it, just like the masked magician in the tank. Well, see, this is the thing, is like, people think that if there's 1,000 or 2,000 people, then it has to be live. It has to be, you know, it's not fakeable. But the thing is, we don't know. Literally, you don't even know what you live on. That the 7 continents and blah, 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 because that's what they tell you it is. How do we know the Great Garbage Patch, that's a no-fly zone, you're not allowed to fly over it, how do we know there's not land there? And they just tell us it's the Great Garbage Patch so that, you know, we have our answer. Why would it be a no-fly zone? Doesn't make any sense. Why did that kid invent that technology that was said to be able to clean up 100 million tons of trash, but only cleaned up 2 million before it broke down, and so they had to tow it out? And then you've never heard anything else about it. Telling me the government didn't buy up that technology and then put it to good use, cleaning up the fucking garbage of the Great Garbage Patch? What are we talking about? But for all you know, there's land there, and on that land, your Kobe Bryants, your Charlie Kirks, your people that are supposed to die live a really good life there. And they have, 5,000 black people, 5,000 white people, 5,000 Asians. And anytime they need to orchestrate an event, they just use those people. You don't know. That the point being, it might be far-fetched or whatever, but you don't know. You just think shit's real because that's what you're told to think. The reality is you only know what's going on in your fucking vicinity right in front of you. The gyre in the Pacific Ocean. I don't know what that means. My name is I don't know why you're wasting time talking to trolls. You're talking to Israeli bots who are going to do everything they can to try to make you think you're stupid for asking questions. But if you really want to start experiencing something, show support and see how you get attacked unlike it's ever happened on any feed you've ever been on before. Oh, they're taking my likes away. I've had 11 likes now twice, and they've taken it away both times. I mean, even something as normal as submarines. You have no idea what you're talking about. You don't know the history. You've never bothered to even look. I highly suggest you spend an hour today looking into the history of submarines and see if it still makes sense after that. I'm never one to tell you to go look at some conspiracy stuff. Go watch this conspiracy video. Go watch that conspiracy video. I want you to look at the official narrative and see if it makes sense to you. There was a video that was put out by the system. It's these military guys, they do ballistics testing. They these are popular kinds of videos where white guys shoot stuff. These are popular videos on YouTube. Well, these guys were going to debunk the myth that if Trump got hit, his whole head would have been blown off. That was their whole thing. That if Trump really got hit by that ordnance in the ear, it would have blown his whole head clean off. And they just thought it was so funny. And so again, this is a sponsored page. This is, these guys are all jacked up, roided out, body armor. They got all different kinds of guns that are super expensive. So where do they get them? We don't want to talk about that. But they have they have these gelatin dummies now that simulate what a human body, I guess, almost perfectly. Other than the blood aspect of it, I think, but they're used for ballistics testing to see what bullets do to bodies. So they've created these fake cadavers that are perfect, right? So they set up the whole thing. They're laughing and joking. People are so stupid. Blah blah blah. They shoot. They hit the bottom of his ear, and takes his ear a little bit, clips it a little bit. And after the shot, they're all high-fiving. Yeah, hooray, yeah. Oh, look, his head's still on. Ha, ha, ha. His head's still on. Ha, ha, ha. They're all laughing and joking. And then one guy's like, well, yeah, but we did hit the lower end. So let's see if we can't hit closer to the top. So the second shot shoots, and it hits like right here. And they show it in super slow motion. And when it hits, not only does it send waves through the face, like just concussive waves, but it blows his ear to like just boom, his ear like expands like this and shreds apart, and just it's left just like a dangling nasty mess. And so they come back and they watch the footage, and then so now it's just a couple of them, and one of the guys is like, yeah, his head's still on, and the other guy's like, yeah, but you know, I was kind of concerned because the distortion of the ear in super slow motion was more than I expected. And then it cuts. And it goes, because you know he says a lot more, but it cuts. And so this is somebody that's trying to prove that anybody that thinks Trump didn't get shot or that whatever, you know, this is an official, this is on the side, this isn't a conspiracy side of things. So that's what you should watch, because so many times when the official side of things tries to prove conspiracies are wrong, they fuck up. Like even go back to, I don't remember when it was, but it was like 2006 or whatever, maybe, when PBS put out the first official 9/11 documentary based on the NIST report and all this other shit, and they show the computer simulation of what happened. And on the screen, you can literally see that their whole pancake theory only works if the center column is still there after the collapse. That's what the computer model is showing you. That's clearly not what happened. But that's the official narrative, and I love when the official narrative blows up in their face, pun intended. And that's what you see with that Trump shooting video. Is they basically prove that maybe his head wouldn't have been blown off, but his ear would have been destroyed. And now it's miraculously grown back, doesn't look like anything happened to it. But this is what they do. This is how they operate. And they require you to be a fucking moron to believe the narrative you're told. And I just, you know, I would assume that people are sick of being fucking morons. In my links, you're gonna find the link to the Israel Hayom Bottom of Darkness article, and it's unlike any article. It's to me, it's the most important article ever written. It's from April 2025. Good morning. And it's the Israel Hayom article. Israel Hayom being Israel's #1 free weekly, they're called weeklies. But it's a free weekly, like, newspaper, information, you know, whatever, newsletter. And this website, unlike any other website I've ever experienced, makes it almost impossible for you to read the article. It keeps kicking you to a different article where Israel destroyed Assad's Syrian Navy, and it keeps, you know, throwing up these ads you have to get through. It keeps kicking you back. Like, it's a really difficult article to read, not just what you're reading, but physically. Like, they make it almost impossible to read, but you need to read it. That's the true holy shit. And that's the thing that we need to expose more than anything, because I believe if we can expose this to the world while telling them it's okay to condemn it, we can really make the changes necessary. we can overthrow this insane, corrupt system that operates on abuse, through abuse, whatever. It's a necessity that they abuse. It's part of their culture. And until we realize that, like, the thing that you're not allowed to talk about is the thing that you're supposed to talk about. Like, we're just being manipulated. We're being duped. If you're talking about something else, you're supposed to be. That's why I'm so censored and everybody else isn't. That's why, I'm the one that's been telling you about Team Jorge all this time. I'm the one that's been telling you about ACT-IL since I figured it out. I don't know anybody else talking about the Israel Hayom Bottom of Darkness article, but that should be something that's everywhere. Most important article ever written, along with the most important video ever created, movie ever created, which is Hollywoodism. That link is also in the description. Along with the website, go get your free download, www.the-bilderberg-group.com. It's free. Put 0 in the payment box when it asks you how much you want to pay, and it's free. Or donate, like so many people have, and we appreciate. Either way, just share it with someone. That's all we ask. Have yourself a great day. And you pedophiles, fucking kill yourself.